Well, hello everyone. Good morning, good evening. Thank you all for, taking the time to tune in this first webinar actually of the year. So it's one of quite a few that has been scheduled really to, help share what is it we're doing, but also help share some best practices from our customers. I think with the marketing team and Lily, we're working on a really nice schedule for 2025 and are really happy to kick this off together with our partners. Um, Let me just open a few tabs on my side. So they are, we have quite a few people joining us from around the world. We're reviewing the list. I think there's not one continent that is not present, but if you have any questions, any thoughts, any comments as we go through the presentation, feel free. There is a chat, I guess, or there's a chat, or you can also ask your questions and, we'll make sure to moderate them, to review them. If we don't have time to go through them all today, we'll make sure to follow up with the recording and the presentation after the session. So, well, thank you so much, as I said, for tuning in. So today the topic is really going to be focused on our new partnership framework that we've been developing throughout 2024 on how can we foster and enable family governance leveraging technology. I think 2024 has really been a transformative year for Trusted Family, aligning with, I think, the evolving trends in general we've seen in a maturing industry we're in, right? I think Trusted Family's been there for quite a lot, many years, some of your firms, sometimes even longer. But with our new product, we've really evolved from being a communication platform to really a comprehensive operating system and working tool designed to support the family governance process, right? And it's very broad. We'll discuss them and we'll go over them, those concepts a bit with you today. But the global reach now, so we work with over 200 families, really supporting these three pillars of our offering, which is one, what we call today the operating system, which we'll be talking about. There's the family success, realizing that a platform is only a tool and to really make the platform a success for our partners and for our clients, being supported by best practices, templates, guidance from our team there is really essential. And Avelina, I'll let you introduce herself, but we'll be able to share a bit about the work she does with partners and customers. And then we also couple that with a third pillar, which is the family community, realizing that there's so many people that are, set to different roles in different, committees within their families and within different task force, not really realizing, being educated or realizing what is totally expected from them. So we have an amazing community of all these families that, connect online and offline to learn from one another and best practice sharings. So another thing we realized in 2024 is, we also recognize the growing importance of integrating our partners in the work that we do on the platforms. And so today's session is really focusing on that. It's focusing on introducing our new partnership framework. Really, we've built to design and strengthen the collaboration we want to have with our partners. What does this framework look like? How does this distribution partner work with families, and how can we become a distribution partner together will be some of the key highlights for today. And so, yeah, looking forward to it. I think before kicking things off, I really want to introduce you to Avelina. A lot of you maybe already know her well. You want to share a few words about yourself,
Yeah.
Avelina?
Hi. So thank you everyone for joining and welcome. I'm Avelina. I've been with Trusted Family for 5 years and I work in the client success team, which we basically help clients through the onboarding process and continued support. So you'll learn more about how we can work with you later today. Thank you.
100%. And when we say clients, that's, Avelina has been also the main point of contact and the person in charge of all of our distribution partners, also empowering them to onboard, to set up, to launch different client platforms throughout the year. So yeah, really happy to have you on board this exciting journey, Avelina.
Yeah.
So cool. So A few things. First, a bit about this partnership framework, right? And how do we really empower you as family business advisors, practitioners, really drive success on your various project with clients? I think the first thing is kind of share what is our joint or at least our mission statement, which is really to empower you with the best technology that you can have to enhance service delivery and really foster not just the way that you and structure, not just the way you work with those families and clients, but also support long-term success for your projects with families, right? And so success means many different things, depending on also the projects that you have with your respective clients, right? It might be, to conduct what we call this a family diagnostic often, which is to using our platform to collect, store, analyze key documents, like genograms, constitutions, value statements, all these information that will help you analyze the family and understand what is needed to really help support and help achieve success, long-term success for your clients and projects. So that is often one of the first things we do when we kick off a project with a partner is we understand, okay, let's kick off this diagnostic phase and structure the platform to enable this diagnostic phase to happen and collect, all this information. Maybe another success which is basically establishing family governance, right? Which is maybe helping you to collaborate with your customers, with your clients, that it be the next gen, that it be the senior gen and owners or the principals, and implementing them and supporting them in their new roles, setting up new structures, new task force, new working groups, scheduling meetings, and streamlining basically follow-ups for all these action items that you're working on with your clients on more the governance side of things. And so on that aspect also, if that's kind of the key project for you, we will show you how the platform supports that. And then there's also is it like defining individual and collective goals, right? Aligning the families around a shared visions, monitoring progress is something that is paramount. We realize very often that, it's not a stagnant process. It needs to be a living document, and people need to live around their values if that's what you're working on with the families. How do they apply that throughout the work that they do on an ongoing basis? And I believe also that's where the platform comes into play and where we've been developing quite a lot to help you support your customers and having visibility on, those goals and progress made upon them. And then I think it's also a collaborative approach. That's how I like to think about this partnership framework for sure too, is, we want to help families across generations. That's both our goals in an ultimate way. And so, we want to give them the right structure, but also provide you and the families with the right tools, to really thrive in their entrepreneurial journey, because it is clearly an entrepreneurial journey. Many different roles and responsibilities are needed to be tackled. And we also need to provide flexibility and really adapt our framework based on the use case and the projects that you really have with each client and family, and at their stage of where the client and family is, right? A G2 versus a G6, the projects are extremely different. So very high level, that's kind of where I wanted to share. There's a lot of conversations here, a lot of talking points, which of course are different based on your projects and based on the families. But often the first thing is for us to kind of map and understand what the success metrics look like and what are the key projects that you're working on with families look like. So why does Trusted Family we see us as a support to your client advisory projects? 6 different key aspect we've seen here, come up most often with our partners. One is increasing security, right? We need to find a way to avoid using and storing data across platforms or across emails or across different WhatsApp channels that I've seen happen too often. So how can we make sure we can protect this information for our customers, not just for the time of your duration of your project, but also, for the ongoing work of the families, right? If some of these shareholder documents are shared with employees or people who are not necessarily the right beneficiaries and owners, it can be not a good scenario to kick off a project with a client. So, increasing security for us has been paramount, and the feedback we've gotten for our partners has been really important for it. Centralizing, organizing, I think especially organizing, the information when start working with partners or when we start working with families is all over the place, and it's a mission and a project in itself to start centralizing it and organizing all of that information in a readable, amusing, readable, and, consumer friendly way, if I can put it that way, because it's all over scattered today in everybody's drawers or in different servers. And so how to, organize that in a way that can be easy accessible by the key people. And then, finding as a working tool, right? We've done a lot of work in developing the new polls on the application. We've done, meeting management where you can find dates for meetings with your customers. You can integrate with calendars, Google Drive, OneDrive, navigate projects with the family as a working document, right? Sometimes it's like you want to share a final version, but very often you also want to be able to integrate and collaborate on one example could be in a family constitution with your customers. Creating accountability, really crucial, creating to-dos, aligning on to-dos, giving visibility on tasks that are assigned to families and projects is paramount for the success. As I said, transition from a static policy to an actionable framework is paramount too. People need to be living by those principles and working and making decisions by principles and policies that have been established or that are being worked on with you. And then at the end, I think, if you're not on the mobile, not people cannot consume and get access to their information on the mobile. Traction is not easy, especially depending on projects if you're trying to work with the next generation. So, but I think it's also paramount, especially today, to be equipped with appropriate systems. So yeah, a few granular. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna share maybe one or two other slides, and then I'll hand over the floor to Avelina. That's really gonna go through the new application and how is it we work with distribution partners. But I think the first thing is, depending on the roles individuals have, permissions are paramount. And so setting up granular access points based on the projects, the roles, the members in the family, the members of your teams is really important. And so that's before we launch those platforms, we really set up the application in a way that will help you automatically run the right permissions and collaborate with the right people in the right environments. And then it's about, there are different aspects. When it comes to client communication, push notifications, mobile, email notifications is key. We have a chats where it enables to one-on-one conversation, postings, signatures, integrations. That's more on an ongoing basis for when you need to start communicating with your clients. Governance operations, you need organizing meetings, you need to send out private files to individual beneficiaries, you need to, organize tasks, manage all sorts of action items and capture those in a way that can, create visibility after meetings and enable people to follow up on them. And then if it's about unity, governance, and or next gen education, that's also paramount and a key topic we see for a lot of our clients. It's about how can we store the legacy, archive the legacy, make it available for, future generations, for in-laws potentially to also understand the heritage and how to build upon it. Having visibility on the family tree. We have a lot of advisors that work on governance, upload their genograms into documents that can be seen. We also have a family tree built in onto the application. And then next gen education. But if that's a project, that's clearly one of the mandates a lot of our partners have with their customers. And so there's different ways of supporting that and organizing that via the application. So on that, maybe what I suggest is, Evelina, let me hand over the floor to you to kick us on the fun part, which is really
Thank you.
demoing the platform and yeah, showing how it can be used.
Thank you, Arnell. So when you first get the platform, this is how it would look like, right? We would put your name here plus the client name. And how we're going to think about the platform, this is going to be kind of your working place and also where you share the information, right? The personal section, that would be mostly for the users, I would say, for you as a user and for your family clients or whoever or the group of people you're working with. And each would have a homepage, a notification section, a chat, an in-depth calendar where you could see, events as a list or as a monthly view, a to-do section, and the vaults. But what we're going to review first is going to be the spaces. We call spaces basically the group of people who's getting the information. So that depends on who you're going to be working with, right? So if you're going to be working with a family and the whole family, you'll have probably a family space. If you're working on a specific project for the next gens, you'll have a next gen space. If you're building committees, you can create different spaces for each different committee and have a working group. If you're building a family council or working with the family council, that could also be a space. If you're an institution and have different type of clients, each space could be for each client, or you could have a different platform for each client. But basically, spaces are working groups. So the people who need to receive that information. I'm going to go here into family records to show you how you can work within a space. So within each space, you're going to have shortcuts, which are basically going to be one-click links to specific information that can be shared inside or outside of the platform. You're going to have announcements, which is going to be how you're going to be pushing the information out to your clients or whoever you're working with, right? So you can create very easy, as you see here, announcements with links to documents or to things outside of the platform. And people can interact with those by liking, commenting, even tagging certain individuals. So I could tag Arnaud here, just drawing attention to the information. And all these notifications are sent via email and via the application to those involved. If you go to the file section, here's where you can share all individual information and files. So for example, if you're sharing the genogram with the family or need input for them, you can ask them to upload the information here, or you can push information out to them. Same with family history and files or anything important that you would need from them or need to push out for them, you could have it here. If you're working on the constitution or charter, you can have different versionings here. You could even link, for example, different links for Google Drive to have like a working document. We have an integration with Google Drive, so it would basically be embedded in the platform. And if you give the proper access on the Drive side, people will be able to edit the information here. So if needed, you could give certain individuals access to edit, other just the access to view, and you can work with that to have a working document. As you see here, all files are displayed in the platform as well. So whatever you upload, if it's a PDF, a Word, an Excel, most of them will be displayed in the platform. You can zoom in or out, and they can be viewed by whoever needs to view them. All documents are downloadable, and you can also share them, as I mentioned before, by either creating a shortcut or by creating an announcement, which is basically a newsfeed post, as we saw, right? And you can push information out to the members. So please review the solution and click create, and you'll be able to send this message to the wider family, right? You can also work here, have a folder for family values if that's where you're working for, or employment policies, or the election and representation policies and different rules for the family, composition of current committees, virtually anything you'd like. You have the ability to create upload any type of document and create any type of folder structures. So you can really play around with that to have the information hosted in the platform. So that's, we saw it right now, like the family section. You'll also see who are the individual members involved in that space under the members list. And you'll also have a family tree to view the information in a family tree. We don't have one built up, but if you want to build one so you can know how everyone relates, kind of like a live genogram, you'll be able to have that in the platform. Under business records, so we're turning to the other group, you can see how this information changes, right? We were looking at family. Now we're going to go out, look at business records. If you click on files here, you'll see how you'll be able to share different information. You'll be able to share org chart and executive team structure, business reporting files, asset allocation and investment portfolios, culture and values. So virtually anything you'd like, depending on the information you're pushing out. Same with the ownership records, right? Every space you see has different type of information geared towards different individuals. So that's what we're looking for. And you'll see here, you'll be able to sort the information from alphabetical newest first. So I'll just do it A to Z here. And if you have specific working groups, like a committee, a task force, you'll be able to create spaces for those working groups and make them more open than the others. So for example, in a working group, we want everyone to collaborate. So in this space, all users will be able to add announcements, add files to the space, share information. And in the others, the advisor might be the only one pushing information out, right? We also have a section, let's say that you want to share information with individuals. You're working on doing certain tests with certain family members or certain information that's just for one or more individual, but they don't necessarily share a space. We have a section called vaults. where you can basically share information with one or more individuals that don't necessarily share a space. Another part you could use is to do, so you could push out action items for individuals, right? It's important for them to keep track of what they need to do and what they need to work on. So you can push information. So for example, Arnaud assigned me this to do. I can see where it comes from. So the agenda, what event it comes from and what space. So it's from my task force. And he could even set a date if there's a specific due date or not. And once the task is completed, I'll just click check and that will mark my to-do as done. If you have multiple, if let's say that you're working also with multiple families and you want to have multiple accounts for each family, that's also an option. And it's very easy for you as the advisor to switch through different accounts. If you click here, you'll just see a switch account button. And since you're already authenticated, it will just re-authenticate you and give you the ability to switch from one account to the other very seamlessly. So if you click on the homepage, you'll see kind of this will be more on the user side, right? But the users will get an aggregated section of all announcements posted in the platform, of all information shared, depending on the access they have. So this is really, you can use this as your working tool to push information out, to gather information as well, and really build it and cater to your needs. So the platform can be really built and cater to your needs. And that's what we will be working on with my team, is to make this platform and build it so it's, works as a working tool and it's built to how you're going to use it with your clients. Perfect. So now I'm going to
Maybe may I ask Avelina,
of
maybe
course.
just a few questions myself. So just to clarify, so account switch, this concept of switching account is really important because you work with 3, 4, 5 clients at the same time, or maybe your firm has 15, 20, 30 clients that they manage on an annual basis, right? And the idea is for you to be able to have a dedicated environment, a specific platform for each of those customers that are distinct, that is tailored for the needs of that client. And this concept of switching account is that you'll be able to jump from one platform to another without having to seamlessly navigate to different URLs, etc. So
Exactly.
yeah, that was, I just wanted to clarify. And I think maybe, do you mind also sharing statistics? Because I think one of the
Of
key things
course.
I see when working with partners is like, gaining insight into how people work and how people, what people look at and when they connect is extremely important. You can understand the power users of the family or maybe the ones that are, less engaged. And I always say to our partners and our customers, for those that are really engaging, do maximize the relationship with them because they can be your champions to bring projects and move projects forwards. And as equally important, the people who are less um, active, it might be worth, picking up your phone, scheduling a call with them, understanding, if they can be involved in a different project, would that change anything? Well, just having visibility there is paramount.
Exactly. And as you mentioned, right, switching accounts, it's very easy. It's literally a one-click, well, actually two-click process. You'll just click on switch accounts, click on the account you want to switch, and that will take you to the account. And in terms of platform statistics, as you mentioned, right, it's very important to know who's engaged, who might need a little push, who is viewing what information is interesting to your clients, right? So you'll have the platform overview here to view member activity, the breakdown, login methods. You'll also be able to see platform trends. When was the platform created, when are members registering, invited, session and user trends as well. So when are the sessions starting? What are the user trends? So is there a link with users and content? For example, here you'll be able to view, are users logging in more when you share more content? Is there really no relation? Space activity overview, right? Which spaces are the most used? And you can kind of filter of amount of files, documents, forms, events, top member activity overview as well. So you'll be able to see who are your most engaged members, who are the members that are sharing more files, pages, forms, events, commenting, announcements, reactions, comments. So you'll really be able to dive into the member activity and I would say your popular content, right? You have your top announcements by interaction or your content engagement, right? Which documents have the most views, which have been downloaded and so on. So we'll be really able to play with that to kind of gauge your user base and interest and in what they're looking at and whatnot. Perfect. So I'm gonna hand it back to you, Arnaud, so we can continue with the presentation.
Super cool. Well, thanks a lot. And as I said also at the beginning, every client, every project is different. It is really important, and Avelina will touch upon it also when we kick off a project with our partners. It is paramount for us to really understand the work that you're trying to achieve, what will define it, also success metrics, like what will make this project a success for you, what will make it a success for the family, so that we can provide the right frameworks and the right setup in order for for you to work. So let me share the slides again. Boom. I'll put it full screen. So a bit about security. Well, I won't spend too much time. We have a lot of documents, talking about our approach to security, our method of encryption. All of our data is not just encrypted on the servers, but every file is encrypted, has a specific decryption key, etc. I can talk about it a lot. We did a security review yesterday with our CTO and a family client, or a family prospect, and it's quite common for us to go over all these processes, and it's really, really important. If you or if your customers have questions around it, happy to share with you, the documents that we have explaining our policies there, the types of partners we work with. Of course, we can enforce two-factor authentication on all the users or certain individual members. We have daily backups, GDPR compliant. In Europe, it's still important. Virus and malware scanning and screening, extremely important too. So all of those are paramount. There's a lot of penetration tests that we do on an annual basis to really make sure that it's, we don't just say that it's one time secured, but we continuously invest and continuously monitor and progress our approach to security on an annual basis. And so happy to share all the work initiatives and the frameworks we're doing there afterwards with you. And maybe the best for that, we'll be sharing the recording of this webinar, the presentation. I won't necessarily be sharing all of our security documents, but feel free, to reach out to Evelina, to myself. I can share my contact details afterwards, to dive into deeper the model, the approach, the work you do with customers, and also talk about security. Evelina, I'll hand over the floor back to you.
Thank you. So now you're probably wondering, right? This is a new platform. How would you learn the process? How would you learn how to train the users in the platform, build the platform? And I know it probably sounds overwhelming, but it doesn't need to be. That's what my team's here for. So the client success team will really help you through the whole process of training and onboarding new clients until you really become an expert in the platform. And it really is an easy platform to use. So you'll see how you'll quickly become experts. And you might learn a bit with your first client and then be an expert for your second. So how this will work is we'll first do a project assessment questionnaire. So you'll have to fill out a short project assessment questionnaire where we'll try to understand what's your purpose with that specific client and what are you trying to build, right? Are you trying to build a family council, work in next gen education, build family governance from scratch? So that way we'll know how to best build the platform for that specific project. So we'll do the project assessment, which is really short. Once we have the project assessments, we'll probably meet together and configure the platform. We'll help you build the platform with the needed spaces. Our team has expertise on this, so they'll know, what are the spaces needed, what's the best ways to divide divide the access groups, if you need to create specific vaults or not. So our team will really guide you through, okay, this is what has worked before, this is what maybe you could create it here. And then we'll do a platform review with you as with Trusted Family and ourselves. So we'll work on, okay, this is what we have created. Does this make sense? Yes, no. Do we need to add things, remove things? And we'll do a bit of training as well. So for you as the advisor, right, or partner, you'll be working on, okay, how can I use this platform? Ask any questions you have, and we'll really be there for support. So you won't feel that it needs to be all on you, right? And then we invite the client family, and we'll do some training with them as well. And that can be on your end or on our end. If you feel confident enough to do the training for them, you can do it as well. But if you need our support, we'll also be there. So we'll really be with you throughout the whole process, building the platform, training the users, and showing you how to, take advantage of all the features that we have and best use it for your needs.
Yeah, maybe one last thing I can add here is like this process, it's a four-step process, but it can happen in one day. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
this is not a week or a month long process. We have a few distribution partners that have joined us today for the call that could testify for it. But basically, you're interested in having a setup. You send us an email. We send you a simple document to complete. We do our homework, we set it up, we configure it, and we just have one call together to ideally, the first time we maybe have one call and afterwards, like we have some partners now where we don't even schedule calls anymore. They send us a document that they have and we just set it up and they know how the platform works. They know how to customize it, to run it and to structure it. And so they automatically start, setting it up without even a call on our side. So of course, it depends on the partner, if you're used or not to working with us. Maybe the first time it might take a week to really structure it out between ourselves, and then the next platform you launch is just a few hours, maybe just for you to get back to us with the information and for us to kind of put it together and set up the platform for you in the right and appropriate way with the right permissions, which is important. Um, you want to talk a bit about the other work here, or?
Yeah, well, I think same as before, right? You'll have real people helping you, right? That there are people who understand the platform, understand how clients work. They'll offer training sessions. They'll help you monitor success as well, so help you understand the metrics, right? What data is important, what data we should focus on, and really they'll be the team dedicating you to the success of the platform. So I just really want you to know you'll be supported throughout the process, and it really is an easy platform to use as well.
Um, yeah, there were a few questions I just wanted to show back because there's one question as to how to create to do. So it's actually very simple, let me just open a meeting. So if you go to the agenda of a meeting, let's say we're working on the family constitution project, within a specific event, let me actually say that I'm attending. That's a good thing to do once I'm on it. So you can add a Zoom link, you can see if it's a physical location, you can add the location there, and then you can also add all sorts of meeting agendas, right? Documents, surveys you can create, bridges, which is this integration with Google Drive, etc. And we have a document editor, which is where I added the agenda here, right? And so here you basically can start taking all your notes of meetings, I can, for instance, start saying, okay, presentation. Wait, let me just make it a bit higher here. Presentation of trusted family to our distribution partners. Whatever. So you can take notes for your meeting, highlight things, etc. And this is where basically we have also this little plus icon that allows you to, have different formats, add, and this is where you add to-dos, right? You can add to-dos, you can upload images, you can upload files. So if you want to have a summary of all the decisions taken in your meetings, the presentation of the meeting, the recording of the meeting, you can all put that into the same one-page document, kind of like a wiki, and people can just kind of consume all the information on one page. Here, I'm just going to create, for the sake of this example, another to-do. So here, I'm just creating, Arno to prepare the next and send invitations for the next family constitution task force. I'll just, in this case, assign it to myself. Add guess, and then I'll just give myself a due date. And maybe one other thing, which I think is really, really worth mentioning here is within an event, like here, this is the case of all the family members that are part and working in the family constitution, right? But let's say for one meeting, maybe this one, you want to invite an external expert on this specific theme, or you want to invite one of your customers to share how is it they went through the process, right? Basically, we have also a feature where you can be a guest of just a meeting. That means that you won't necessarily need to be a member of the platform and of the space and all the content of the space, but you can invite someone and he or she will just have access to this meeting and the information published in this meeting. And so how this works is, let me just invite my private email at gmail.com, invite Arno, and here it will show you that, I don't belong to a space and will be added as a guest to this event. Okay, invite. And so what I'll receive an invitation. And here below, you can see that with this new profile, I'm marked as a guest, and this is to distinguish that I'm a guest to this event. I can just see the content of this event, but I will not see all the other files that are published in this space or in this family constitution task force space that everything is published in. So I think that's also like collaborating with external members is something very important. Um, so yeah, very, very good question. So there are a few questions here around the pricing and, extremely, extremely important topics. So there's a different partnership. So for our partnership model, there's different programs that we've set up with partners. I think one of the key things for me to understand before giving you a real pricing is to understand how many client projects you have to onboard, right? Because we have this model where it's similar to almost a freemium model with our partners, where the distribution partners will just pay to cover the cost of Trusted Family and maintaining, ongoing, setting up these platforms with Evelina and myself. And then you can use it for free almost for 6 months to 1 year. And if the client afterwards, after having worked with your customer on the platform, wants to use the platform, then they need to contract with Trusted Family. And well, I think, one of the biggest challenges we have at Trusted Family is understanding the right moment to speak with the right families. You have this insight, which is why we want to provide a great tool for you to work with your clients. And ultimately, we do hope that those clients will want to work with us after your missions, which might be, after 6 months or maximum 1 year if you want to keep using the platform. Then we would be introduced to the client, to the family. We're kicking off this with a few platforms now, and it's quite successful because they want to keep using the platform afterwards. And they also realize that, the structure we've set up with the family, the owners during the advisory process, actually there's a great way for them to also start using it for all the projects that they have. If they're working on a foundation with the next gen and they want to set that up themselves without necessarily the help of an advisor and a partner, that's a great way to get them empowered, to get them to start working together, to get them thinking and reflecting together on certain projects, and will open up the door to hopefully Trusted Family and becoming a client of Trusted Family. So we contract with our partners at a very, very, very discounted price. It's basically depends on the size of the platform of the number of clients, but it comes down often to $1,000 and euros per platform. And then if the client wants to keep using it after that, they need to contract with us with Trusted Family, and that depends on the customer and the size and the complexities of the projects and the clients. It varies basically between 10 and 20,000 per year normally that our clients pay for Trusted Family. Um, were there other question or did I miss anything? Um, yeah, so some of the trends. So there's a questions around the trends that we've seen also in families. I think I was speaking to a friend from a family business the other day, and he was realizing, because he was also part of a network, and he realizing that we're seeing more and more, and this is the case also for a lot of our clients. More clients are joining us who have kind of holding companies, which are families that invest together as a family. And I think this is clearly a trend that we've seen, more this concept of entrepreneurial families wanting to build projects together, to invest together, and less families that just hold one legacy business and hold the shares of it. And so that's also why we also wanted to develop this new platform. I don't know, last time you reviewed the application, it's changed a lot. There's a lot of new features we bring on board. I didn't show electronic signatures. We can talk about it on other matters, but I think there's a lot of features we've built to help empower families to work together. Our integrations with Google Drives, etc., just as another, or Microsoft is another example of being both a tool to structure, organize, and be a repository of information, but also a platform to help you work on projects and have an ongoing working document with your clients and families, and that's how the trend that we've seen, basically working more and more with entrepreneurial families, with families that invest together and have a lot of assets in common. So I don't know if that answers your question or if you see the same trends. Um, so on that, so yeah, maybe so one last thing. So there's going to be, so as I said, right, there's going to be quite a lot of webinars. We're gonna send the recording of this one. We're going to send the presentation of this one. If you want to reach out either to Avelina, she'd love to speak with you about her experience working with clients, working with partners, some best practices she's seen. I think Avelina is the best person to go to, and or myself. I have my contact details here, but if you reach out to me, I'll make sure to include Avelina in copy. But happy to facilitate all of that. There are a couple of very key projects that we're finalizing. One is in about 2 weeks. We're going to have a new public website that's going to be released. We'll make sure to communicate it because there's a lot of exciting things happening there. We also have another webinar coming up in 2 weeks, and there's a planning. So, do reach out. We're happy to share all sorts of updates and plannings as to what is expected to come. There's another question that came on security. Wait, let me just quick. How do you assure total confidentiality to the family documents on the platform? So very, very important. I think Huh. I can answer that question in many, many different ways, Emily. I think you know, when you talk about security, let me just show you multiple things, right? I think when you talk about security, the best thing that you can offer to your customers is to enforce two-factor authentication, right? We can force two-factor authentication on the system for all the users this way, and users can also set up their two-factor authentication. Let me show you how it's done, which is SMS based or through a Google authentication. I think Microsoft has one. It's a time-based one. You can use many of them. So I think that's the first layer to enter, which I think is paramount and probably has the best layer of security. Now, the balance that you need to find is like if you're used to sending emails and WhatsApp to your clients and having that facility of access, this clearly could add a boundary of access to information because people need to have their authenticator app to connect to the architect and to the platform. It's about there's always a balance to be found when you speak to your customers and families around security, usability. But I think two-factor is something that I really, really encourage all of our customers to set up. So that's one thing. I think by default, we never send like everything. People need to authenticate themselves on the platform, right? If I'm sending here, I sent on the home screenshot, I was sending a few announcements. Avelina just shared this announcement of the family constitution. I received a notification in my email here and a notification on my phone actually right now during the demo. We never send documents via email, right? And that's the first thing. And when I say that documents and every file is encrypted, like on our servers in transit, the decryption key for every document is unique, right? So for this document, there's this strange letter word, which basically is the key that authenticates this device. I don't want to go too technical on here, Emily. I'm sorry if I do. But I think if I open this document and if I open another one, you'll see that the documents here are all with their own specific encryption keys, right? And this is extremely important because, yeah, this is, it's on the servers also that every file that's being uploaded, every piece of content, every profile even that's in our system has its specific encryption key. And I think that's extremely important too. Um, uh, Voilà. And then in terms of, I think it's also important in terms of confidentiality and permissions and accesses, right? That's why I also say like, except if you need to collaborate, features like Google Drive or Microsoft Office suites are really great. We'll never be able to compete with Excel, spreadsheets, etc. in terms of collaboration, right? But that also is a threat to security in a sense, because by nature, if you want to open up a link, you need to make them public to people who are not part of your Google Drive or Microsoft Suite environment, which is a threat in terms of security. So I always say if it's a working document, I totally understand the reasoning why. But once the document is finalized, finish it, download it, and remove the accesses, because the best is to have one document that is stored in one location, and to manage the access and permissions through the spaces is much better than having to make links open on the internet if you have access to the link. I mean, I'm going a bit technical there. I'm happy to discuss best practices and ideas that we've seen with our customers as to what makes the most sense and how to best secure. I think every space also, we didn't discuss in too much details, but every space you can also very much manage the modules and understand, okay, from the family, who are the ones who can create events? Is it everybody, or is it just the owners? Who are the ones who can manage the activity and push notifications? Certain of our clients really want to control it, and other ones want to make it more open for everybody to see and use. Yeah, hope I was able to answer your questions. Every partner, have different use cases, right? I didn't show you the poll. We can actually even create one live now, but because I know that surveys are really, really important too. But you can, we also have different forums that you could submit, where you can add, paragraphs, numbers, email list, dates, form links. I'll just use it. You have templates. What is your age, for instance, and you can start adding this, so you can start configuring different questions for your schools. It can be multiple choice, check boxes, etc. Once you're happy with it, you just publish it, and people will be able to respond to it through the system, and you'll be able to see the responses there to the form that you create. So there's yeah, you can limit to one response per user for sure. I mean, voilà, all of these settings can be configured directly via the application, and but I need to publish it in order to start sending responses to it. So I mean, there's a lot of different actions and activities that you can do via the platform. It's just about understanding your use cases and how to apply it at best to the platform. Well, I just conscious of time. I think I like to keep things to the point, short and sweet. I think, as I said, happy to set up a platform like this for you to play around with. Happy to navigate and have a call together to understand how can this platform really be appropriate for certain of your projects that you're working with clients, either project that you're working with now, or if you're looking to re-engage with the family, this could also be a great way to re-engage with the clients on certain projects or certain missions that you see are important to those specific families. And we're happy to share also best practices and to also introduce you to some of our distribution partners to see how they are also working and using the platform with their customers. So thanks, Evelina, for
Yeah,
this
thank you,
first
Arnaud, and
webinar
thank
of the
you.
year.
Thank you everyone for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Arnaud.
Super cool. Thanks all. Speak to you soon.
Bye.